Hey, hi Cynthia, hi Pallavi. Welcome to Venkation's podcast.
Hi.
Uh,
No.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm really happy to do this. I'm glad we could all finally find some time together that worked out for like all three of us. You know what I mean? Cynthia, why don't you tell us your story, how you ended up doing retreats, how you got into yoga?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's kind of a big question. I'll just try to keep it short. First, my name is Cynthia Wong, and I'm originally from Chicago. My parents are from Hong Kong. They moved to Chicago and then had it, me and my sister. So I'm not gonna go for my birth story, whatever, but I'm just gonna say that's where I'm from. And then a year and a half, I was like, I just want to move across the world. So I moved to Malaysia.
Wow.
And Malaysia has, it's kind of like a melting pot, maybe
Hmm.
less
Yeah.
than America, but it's a melting pot and it's retained like strong traditions within the Chinese cultures, the Indian cultures, and then ethnic like Malay.
Hmm.
I was working there at a company called Mind Valley, which is like in personal growth, and
Oh, it's
started
owned by
doing,
Vishen, right? I've heard
yeah,
about Mind Valley.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vishal, Vishen,
It's
someone, yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
it's 7 point meditation. I just love that one.
yes, this was
Yeah.
meditation, I think. So really cool. I started getting a little more
Uh,
exposed to um just like mindfulness and
hmm.
personal growth. I was traveling in Bali again, and I was with my parents actually, and I was just like got this weird epiphany, like I think I want to do my yoga teacher training. And it wasn't to
Wow.
teach originally, I just wanted to go into yoga so I could teach myself. And I worked with a lot of refugee students in Malaysia from all over the world, and I wanted to
Oh,
bring it to the girls. I mean, the boys too, but because of kind of like the culturalness of it, it was more appropriate for me to
yeah.
teach girls. And so ended up falling into teaching commercially at a brand new yoga studio in Malaysia.
Oh,
And I really liked it. I loved
true.
all of that. And I was traveling along and I was seeing these beautiful, like turquoise waters and whatever. And I was on my favorite islands in Malaysia that I went to a number of times. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a yoga retreat. That was 2017.
Mm.
And then I ran my first one there and then did another one in Bali a few months later. And then the next year I did like five different places and then I did four. And it was
Oh,
kind of insane. I go a little too hard into things sometimes, but I was like hooked. So that's kind of how the
wow.
retreat started. I don't do that much anymore. I do like two, through the yoga, creating a journey. Um, and then asking reflective questions and people will share and a lot of aha moments, a lot of tears at the
Yeah.
end, a lot of beautiful,
Yeah.
really good bonding. So it's so much fun. So that's the
Yeah, online yoga is great, but I think the energy which you have in a studio and or you have in a retreat or a sharing circle would be completely different. I think that is one thing that we miss because I love teaching online. It's so convenient and you can, get so many students and, you can teach people from different places. You're not restricted geographically, but that energy, and that vibe and then, connection, that is something that kind of gets missed through a screen. So these retreats are a great way. I'm sure, you would, like you said, people share a lot and there are teary moments, but that is the time when you're, away from your space, your home, your work, and you're on an island or on a boat. So, there are no
yeah, the
inhibitions
feeling.
and yeah,
The
and
feeling
so,
of like the group consciousness when you have a class and you feel like connected, like
yeah,
it feels like samadhi in like a class. Then like
I
on a
know.
retreat, you kind of can facilitate more of that, and it's like more
Yeah.
powerful
Hmm.
for everyone because of the setting, because of the journey, because they flew from wherever and they detached from their
Yeah.
lives and they're like so present. And it's
Yeah.
like an honor to be able to create those experiences and have people trust me that much. But it
Yeah.
takes it to like a whole level, and it's like in one yoga class, so much can happen, and then like on a retreat, it's like,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always get very excited when I hear stories of how people got into something, like their origin story of how they went about and did something of their own and not like the path laid down for,
Yeah.
you, so to say. It's
Yeah.
a very cool story, Cynthia. Pallavi, why don't you tell us your story, how you got into yoga from your corporate and MBA days?
Yeah, so I was on you talked about the road less traveled. I was on the typical path. I wanted my parents to be proud of me. So top of class, go to a business school, go work. I used to work at a bank and just happened to, join some yoga classes because it was in my gym. And then I thought I'll just check those out. And then I started going more regularly. And then, yeah, the best part of my day, when I walk out of the class, I'm like super happy and super chill. And it's always yoga. That 1 hour used to be my highlight of the day. So I was like, okay, this is something, I should continue. And then when I was pregnant with my first child, I practiced yoga throughout. So even I tell people, like, one day before I popped the baby out, I was in my yoga class. So one of the days the teacher said, Pallavi, why you should consider yoga teacher training once. You should consider teaching yoga. And I was like, what? And then in my mind was like, does it even pay anything? And then I was like, nah, and all of that. But then I think somewhere that seed was there, that it's okay. Somebody said that this is something I can do. Maybe I'm good at it. Maybe there must be something my teacher would have noticed in me that she said, you should, maybe you can become a yoga teacher one day. So that stuck. And then and I had some downtime. My daughter was really young, so I had some downtime. So I thought, okay, let me just, join a teacher training. And then when I started going, then I discovered, though I had been practicing yoga quite regularly, for me it was still, about feeling good, like becoming flexible and becoming stronger, doing these poses and that. But it was in my teacher training, then I realized, yoga and meditation, core of the spiritual core of yoga. The core is, connecting with yourself and, finding your true nature and, connecting with the divine or whatever you call it. Then I was like, okay, so this feels different. That's when I, really started getting into it. And that from my teacher training, the first teacher training, the 200 hours that I did, I realized that more than that, I also have a parallel spiritual path, my growth, taking care of my body, my spiritual growth, my meditation. So, yeah, so that is how I got into it. And I love teaching yoga.
Yeah. So yoga
Yeah.
teacher training is something I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. Not to like teach necessarily, but just to improve my
Yeah.
practice and just to be in that really yoga focused setting. You know what I mean? Now that I heard two stories of like two yoga teacher trainings, I want to really maybe do it sooner than later. You
It's
know
so
what
Yes.
fun
I
You
mean?
too.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should.
That's cool. So about your retreat in July, I think there's a month to go for your retreat now, Cynthia.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell us about the retreat. Paint us the picture in Maldives. What is it
Yeah.
going to be like?
yeah. So I mean, Maldives is like honestly, sometimes when I say Maldives in the U.S., a lot of people haven't heard of it, and I'm just like, you have to learn about it, just even if you're not
Mm.
coming, just like it's magical.
Yeah.
So for you guys are obviously a lot more familiar with Maldives with it being so close, but yeah, most
Mm.
people think of Maldives, they think of like super expensive resort on a small
Yeah.
island.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went there and I really kind of like not at a resort. I did it more backpacker style many, many years ago. And then I was like, I want to run a retreat here anymore. I found this boat that fits up to 20 people.
Mm.
And they had it's kind of like a small sun deck on top of the boat. And so I had imagining a retreat there, level, and then the sun deck on top is uncovered, and it's like a big white kind of thing, and it just looks.
Mm.
I was like, my vision of the yoga studio on top of a boat, like got better.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
I saw the video of the boat, right?
yeah,
What do you say about the
it's
Yeah.
so
open sun deck is just
It looks stunning.
beautiful. Yeah.
it's so spacious. So yeah, we just go island hopping because in Maldives you have it's like 1,200 little islands, and I think 200
Mm.
are inhabited. And so we go from like
Mm.
sandbars, where it's just like a long bar of sand raised above the water, to little sandbanks, and we'll like hang out or we'll do yoga on them. We go to a couple local islands. Last year, one of my local friends joined, and it was amazing to have him because when we went to a couple local islands, he kind of like explained like what it was like growing up in small islands. and
Mm.
village life, and the streets, it's just sand, and it's just like 3, 4 streets by 3 or 4
Mm.
streets, and that's like the village. Um,
Wow.
and then we also went to another like local island and did some activities there. So I surprised everyone with like, I don't know if you've heard of Amazing Race. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a little competition.
Yeah.
A lot of things wash onto the little islands. But yeah, we do a different activity every day. There's some snorkel spots we'll just drop in on.
Wow.
Like, oh, we'll go to Shark Point, but what if there's like 2 sharks there? Luckily, when we went to Shark Point and we snorkeled there, there was like, I don't even know, like 50 sharks. It was amazing to snorkel.
Oh,
The highlight for most people, and they're nurse sharks. They're really nice, and even
yeah.
they'll
Yeah, yeah.
hit you sometimes, and it's like, oh, excuse me. But and there was a shipwreck at the end too, and I didn't. They're like, oh my god, is that a shipwreck? And we snorkeled that,
Wow.
and it was just really really cool. So it was nice. Often
Yeah.
I have like 1 or 2 kinds of surprises, but last year was like a little extra. So now I
What?
know everything,
Yeah.
the
A
main spots.
shipwreck is a big deal because that is the stuff you see in documentaries. No one ever
Yeah, and
imagines that they'll get to
shipwrecks.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
a
shipwrecks
shipwreck.
and sharks normally you kind of
Yeah.
experience more when you scuba dive. But
Yeah.
scuba
Yeah.
dive is, you have to get certified. It's not like for everyone's, not everyone's
Yeah.
interested. But snorkeling, it's more you can just lay and hold on to like
Yeah.
the life vest or the ring. You can
Yeah.
wear a life vest and look down, where you can see it from
Yeah.
the top of the water because Maldives is so clear, right? And the
Yeah.
shipwreck, I've seen a lot of shipwrecks. That was the best one ever. It had all this like coral. It has a really
Wow.
cool story behind the shipwreck too. It's kind of like mysterious. But
Wow.
it's cool. So normally at my retreats, I'll have like some surprises. Last year was like a lot of surprises, but because I had run like 15 retreats before that, and then I have run
Mm.
6 other group trips for university in the US before that, and other things. Like I had a lot of things in my back pocket, but I definitely, like my team with my local friend and the photographer had the local knowledge,
Mm.
and it was like definitely a team effort, and everyone really loved it. So it was. I'm excited to run it again. Yeah, and just
Yeah.
in a month. I don't know when this recording will come out, but it's the end of July. And I'll probably do it
Yeah.
again in the future, but I want to rotate in some other places. So
No, that's
Yeah.
such a cool design of the retreat itself, right? It's yoga, it's water sports, it's Maldives, which is like such a
Yeah.
tropical paradise, clear waters. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
what
do
you guys were
stargazing. And then in the morning
stargazing.
we'll do meditation, and then it ended up like usually I had planned to go into like some sun salutations just to open our bodies up in the morning, but we
Mm.
ended up just like getting the mats out and like just having some life talks in the morning, which is a really cool way to
Mm.
start because you're like you come up to the top, and I have like things to sit on basically the like lounge chair padding, and then like the whole sky is like expansive, so the sun will just have come up, and you're just looking at the whole ocean, like really just kind of like
Wow.
your life stress just like, and like
Melts
daily
Yeah.
tasks
away.
just like falls away.
Yeah.
The moms that were there, they were like, I think that they were so grateful because they were just like, it is so hard being a mom, and they were finally
Yeah.
able to
True.
like share that and feel it and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets all quiet. I remember the first time when I'd gone to Maldives, that was like about a decade back. I'd gone for parasailing and I was by myself. And usually in parasailing, you see a lot of stuff. But there, I was suspended in the air and I could only see the lagoon and the ocean and different shades of blue. And, I was just there. I was like, okay, this is me just with myself. And, that's the time you get all these epiphanies or,
Yeah.
you're just in the moment.
So
So
true.
I can imagine how would it feel, to be on a boat and you would just. And when you are a mom, you really crave those me time and your moments because you always have one or the other child running to you and it's like mom, mom, and I have like my cat and my 2 kids. So I think next year, Cynthia, if you're doing it, I'm definitely signing up for the retreat because this time when I went to Maldives, I was like, I'm done. You are in the resort, you're spending so much of money, and you have like you drink and you eat and then it's just the same stuff, but I was like, I'm done with Maldives. I don't think I want to come back in the near future, but I think this retreat is something it's making me crave for Maldives and that same the blue waters, the pristine waters.
I think
Yeah.
cool thing about the retreat, even for people who have already been to Maldives, like you, Pallavi, this is
Yeah.
such a different experience from the
Yeah.
mainland, like the five-star resort kind of generic travel
Yeah.
experience that you're talking about,
True.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
For me, the really interesting part about a retreat is I think when you travel and you're in a new environment, your mind opens up to possibilities that you generally, when you're in your own everyday life, going to work, dealing with your like,
Mm.
you know, you're slightly not you're in the hustle and you're not really open to new ideas, new thoughts, epiphanies,
Mm.
your aha moments, and all of that.
Yeah.
But when you are physically in like a new setting, your mind is also open to like new possibilities and, reflect a little
Yeah.
bit and all of that. Every time I have to drop like some big news to my parents or like, anybody in my life, I always take them on a trip and then tell them, okay, now that you're a little receptive, this is what I have to tell. And it always works out for the better. So even compared to like,
Yeah.
other forms of, let's say, whether it's yoga or whether it's therapy or other ways you can sort of rejuvenate, I really find retreats like a much better way to rejuvenate and chill and find yourself over these small things you can do in your everyday life. You know what I mean? These are maintenance stuff, and that's like the big reset you do once in a year or twice in a year, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super cool. So I had actually been on like a few boat kind of retreats here in Hyderabad, around Hyderabad in India. My mom organizes
Oh.
these boat retreats in Godavari, on River Godavari, and it's like a 4-day retreat. And I've done that like a
Mm.
couple of times, but this was like a decade ago. And while the boat part is similar, the experience is very different. It's a river and the waters look very
Mm.
different and all of that. But I think because I have that experience, I'm so drawn to your retreat. I so want to
Mm.
come. I hope I can make it next year, this year.
So I'll let
That's
you.
Wherever you do
perfect.
your retreat next year, Cynthia, me and Pallavi are coming. Hopefully, you guys can do a retreat together sometime, man. Fingers
That would
crossed.
be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that would
I
be
have so many
cool.
locations in mind, but yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
True.
Cool mix
Yeah.
in a group as well, like your kind of tribe that you will bring in and your tribe that you will bring in will be
Yeah.
really
Yes.
cool.
Cynthia,
That would
let's
be
manifest it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Cynthia, who is the retreat for? Who is like a good candidate to come for? What should they expect from the retreat?
Sure. So I have like a very wide audience. But if I
Mm.
were to give them like, I don't know, like a term or like a
Mm.
way of life, it's more that the audience I attract are people that like to adventure and like to explore,
Mm.
and they're not really afraid of like trying something new and getting outside their
Yeah.
comfort zone, and they just need a little
Mm.
push because they may have forgotten how to do it.
Yeah.
So the demographic is a wide range. So I'll get people from 20s to 50s, and I've gotten like 60s a couple times.
Mm.
So like I tend to attract those that when they travel, they like to do different activities, and they like to
Mm.
maybe they're curious about the culture. I usually try to also incorporate some kind of like, I don't know, giving back or social enterprise activity or partner of some kind. And so we can kind of learn from them a little bit and learn more about,
Oh,
I don't know,
and that goes
sustainability.
so well with yoga because karma yoga is a very important part of yoga. So this karma yoga brings that humility and giving back to it. It's really rooted with yoga. So that's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure those people would appreciate it, the ones who are, signing up for such retreats.
Yeah. And I think it's very humbling too because, you know,
Mm.
we're all, anyone who can go to retreat is pretty, I would say, privileged. And we tend to kind
Yeah.
of sometimes think that we're entitled to a certain level of things. I don't know, when we
Yeah.
travel, especially. And so
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice to do something. And sometimes it's a really cool partnership. Like in Bali, I have a friend that runs like a social enterprise all about bamboo sustainability and products. So I get her products and they're kind of in the goodie bags and stuff too. But we learn about
Mm.
bamboo and its sustainability. We learn about how she creates like team sustainability and whatever she wants to say. She just has so much like wisdom in her. So I'm just like, just
Mm.
talk and we're all like in love with her. So things like that. In terms of the yoga, I know that a lot of people they go to a studio or they don't go to a studio because they're really intimidated by everyone doing yoga.
Mm.
And so for a retreat, often it's more intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I'm trying to make it less intimidating. So even in my yoga classes, or all the outdoor events or whatever I used to run, or I don't know, live music yoga or whatever it is, like it's about the experience and the feeling and kind of the connection to others and yourself and whatever, music, stars, like sunset,
Mm.
whatever it is. So I try not to focus on the fact that it's not a yoga boot camp. Like we're not going
Yeah.
to yoga
Yeah.
teacher. So
True.
less talking.
Yeah.
So one of
So
the
yeah,
myths
usually
people have about retreats is it's either intimidating or it's really heavy because it's a lot of
Yeah.
reflective work. It's not fun, so to say.
Yeah.
But I think when
Yeah.
you have a balance, right? Like what you have, there's like a little bit of giving back. There is all the water activities. There's some yoga. It's like
Mm.
a cool balance between like the heavy reflective work and fun part, because that's the hook
Yeah.
for people to sort of come in, right? Okay, okay, I will. When people are taking off from their like work, they want to have some fun
Yeah.
and some
Yeah.
learning. So it's, I
Yeah.
think, a cool way to get a
Yeah.
balance between those two.
Yeah, and you can't do a crash course in reflection. You can't be
Yeah,
like, okay, this is therapy for 7 days. You will solve all your life's problems in those 7 days.
yeah,
It's gonna be bits and pieces just thrown a bit, and everybody's open to share. I mean,
or like
yeah,
helping them find the way is
yeah,
not part of the job description. But the
yeah,
kind of like creating that container, like what you said, Samira, of like just detaching,
yeah,
hmm,
is a better reset. It's like the
yeah,
ahas, or like I don't know, the way forward, or the building that confidence to just take the first step or be okay with
yeah,
uncertainty,
yeah,
like they find for themselves. And that's more powerful than like someone telling them that, or telling like a
hmm,
parent, like this is what you can do.
yeah,
yeah,
And they kind of are more inspired to take care of their mind body health,
yeah,
their spiritual health a lot more in that moment. And that's so much more sustainable and powerful, and inspiring than watching someone on stage tell you their journey about that or
yeah.
something. So
True.
I think
yeah,
I
true,
really believe, I mean, I'm a little bit into spirituality, but I really think answers are within you, like for yourself, your answers
yeah,
come within you when you allow that to happen, or when you have the circumstances that facilitate for you to listen to your.
that, and
I was about
their
to ask.
colleagues.
I think one of the cool parts about a retreat or travel in general is you meet like-minded people, you meet like really interesting connections, and some of them just stick for like a really long time, right? Every person I've spoken to
yeah,
who has gone to a retreat has at least one story of they met this like amazing person with like a good and built
yeah,
like a great friendship and a great connection. Actually,
mm,
people who got married, who went like met at a retreat and got married as well later. You know what I
wow,
mean? So,
Wow.
that's amazing.
so how do you facilitate? Is there like any bonding activities that you do during the retreat? How do you facilitate that connection piece? Um,
It's very light at first, very light,
Yeah,
because just being part of like Isaac or Mind Valley, or just being me, like I can facilitate almost like very uncomfortably in terms of like getting outside your comfort zone. Now share something about
yeah,
yourself, I don't know, things like that.
mm,
But for retreats, it's like you're already coming to such a vulnerable space. Like most people don't know anyone.
yeah,
They may want to just keep to themselves, and that's totally fine. And I've had people share that at first, like I had a really really hard year, or like don't think I'm cold if I just need to go, or like skip out
yeah,
on something. And so that's a vulnerability too. So at the beginning, it's very light, like round of intros at the first meal, or the welcome snacks or whatever.
mm,
And then just a lot of things are often very organic.
mm,
Sometimes after classes, like depending on the location, and like in Santorini in Greece, after the morning yoga session, like every retreat I have journals, and I started creating like custom journals, like it's a whole thing now. So it's like self prompts and everything instead of like a blank journal.
wow,
So that if they take it home, they can keep kind of journaling for themselves and reflect, like open ending
mm,
But I'll sometimes invite after yoga. You're in such a nice space anyways after
Mm.
Shavasana, and I'll invite people to kind of reflect and journal just one, two, or three questions. And then I invite
Mm.
anyone if they want to, like in that
Mm.
last 10 minutes. um, and so it just kind of starts to organically happen, and then side conversations will happen. Meals will have different
Yeah.
topics sometimes, but it's usually very organic as well and normal. And then by
Yeah.
the end, usually there's like an evening where we do a sharing appreciation circle where we all just kind of popcorn around and we kind of share what we appreciate, but we go through everyone. So it kind of is really, really powerful how people can like be the cheerleader for someone else, having just met them,
Yeah.
and like whatever they
Yeah.
want to do is the best in you, and vice versa to begin with. So then the
I think
bonding just
it's more comfortable to share stuff with people whom you don't know.
For
Because
sure.
you don't know that they're
Yeah.
gonna judge you, and then you're just, there. It's a fresh plate, and you can just like, talk about everything. They don't.
yeah, people really connect. I think I meet really cool people, and honestly, I think when I travel, it's like that kind of. I don't know if you've heard the saying, like your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
I tend to meet
Yeah.
really cool people. I think when I travel,
Yeah.
and somehow it just manifests in like cool friendships. And so with retreats, I don't know, maybe it's the energy I put out there as well, or the word
Yeah.
of mouth. But I also meet really, really cool people, and so they are very like it's a lot, and so it's like you might as well attract like the coolest people that you think
Yeah.
Yeah.
can come.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think in life it's just kind of a thing. Like in general, it's like we can be zombies and just go through life and just I don't know, go
Yeah.
through the motions, or we can just be authentically ourselves in everything that we do and everything that we are, and you attract like your kind of tribe anywhere you go, and that's what makes life like so exciting and makes you feel alive, and
Mm.
also challenges you to grow and learn more things and be humbled and
Yeah.
not stay
Yeah.
stagnant.
Yeah, you can have
Keep
a
Yeah.
deeper experience of life and a more meaningful experience.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the retreat, Cynthia? Are there any discounts you're offering currently? Or if somebody's curious and want more information, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. Email or Instagram is the best.
Okay.
So my Instagram is Cynthia Travels. I used to have a yoga one. I used to have a photography one. I used to have like all these, but now I just go to like the one. And my website is the same.com. And then my email is cynthia@cynthiatravels.com. So that's the best way to find out more. I'll run my fifth Bali retreat. So it'll be I think my 17th overall, but my fifth one in Bali at the end of this year. I haven't run one since before the pandemic. And it'll be one over Christmas again, which I'm super excited about. I like Bali is just so special with like outdoor pools and the jungle, and
Yeah.
I don't know the feeling of Bali. I think just the
Yeah.
intersection of like where it is, the culture, the Hindu influences, the
Yeah.
people is so special. It's held a lot of my growth.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Pallavi?
No, I'm just gonna wish Cynthia all the best for all her upcoming retreats, and we will catch up soon. And anybody who's watching or listening to this podcast too, take time out for yourself, whether you're a mom or whether you are a new mom or whether you are a young college student. If you can afford to, you should, take out time, and even financially, that some amount should be spent on your self growth, self care, which we usually don't do. It's about you valuing your time and how serious about you for your personal growth or for your health. So I think, that is one thing I want to tell everybody. Just, your time, effort, and money. Just be ready to, spend
Invest
that
in yourself.
for your well. Yeah, it is definitely an investment
Yes,
in
yes.
yourself.
One that will give you great
Mhm.
returns.
Yeah, throughout your
Yeah.
life.
Thank
Hey,
you, that.
yeah, Cynthia, you were saying.
Thank you as well. It's been such an honor to do this, and I think always like for me, retreats or teaching is like my authentic self-expression in an experience, and I think that like talking to you ladies, it's like I hear that how you're doing it in your life. Like it's for you, Pallavi, and also being a new mom,
Mm,
and then Samira, you're
yeah,
all these projects, this podcast, this is part of your own creative self-expression too. So I
yeah,
think it's beautiful. Like if we were to suppress these parts of us that we intuitively feel like we want to put out there, we wouldn't be who we are.
Yeah.
We would feel like 50%
True.
of who we
Yeah.
are. So for
Yeah.
us, it's great to meet others that are doing that in their own way. And for anyone listening too, like find your own way to express yourself. It could just be like go
Mm.
vipassana, or like go be with yourself, or it could
Yeah.
Yeah.
be go find your
Whatever
tribe.
is right for yeah.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to do this. I had an amazing time talking to both of you. I learned so
It
many
was
new
so much
things.
fun.
Um, and fully seeing it happen that you two co-host a retreat sometime soon together when the timing is right for both of
Yes.
you. Thank you. Thanks
Yes.
a lot. Have a good one. Um,